Interview with Jan Hammer, 11/18/76, Rockefeller Plaza. Jan, in CK Magazine, you were quoted as saying that the panel setup of a synthesizer is not near as important as how the sound is actually performed, specifically how the pitch is bent. Can you elaborate on that?
I think it deals with something that's very intangible, and people always try to make it simple for themselves, especially beginning players, and I have guys come up and copy down, number for number, every setting on the board, and it happens all the time, and then they, only later, a few minutes later, they see me come on stage and change everything completely, and they just go, oh God, I copied the wrong setting or whatever. Or the roadies were playing with the knobs. And it really doesn't matter that much because I had, it wasn't like a controlled experiment, but it proved something to me where like several people played my instrument, good players too, but the same settings that nobody would touch the settings, and just by playing it in their own style, the sound, the actual sound had a different projection and a different trajectory. It was just like a whole different trip, and I cannot describe. I don't know what it is. I just know how it affects me, how I hear it, and it really deals with something that's very esoteric, and that's inspiration. I think it's that's what really comes through. But at the same time, I cannot dismiss the settings altogether again, because that's really what the soul of the instrument is. The keyboard to me is always just like the most convenient interface for human and the instrument, but it's not. I don't consider synthesizer a keyboard instrument at all. It's really the board or whatever the circuitry is really the instrument.
But pitch bending is a very important style. As a matter of fact, people have associated you with, in particular, a guitar-like thing. Where did you develop that style? Simply by listening, or have you played a solo instrument before?
You mean monophonic, single-line instrument? Not really, no, I haven't. And it's not really guitar. I mean, it's the most familiar sound to Western ear that does that kind of a sound is guitar, obviously. So that's why the reference always jumps up. But I think it's much more Indian music. It's also Eastern European folk melodies, which are played on violins and have all kinds of slurs and slides. And all these things contribute to the way I play. But unfortunately for the Western ear, it's, as I said, it's the guitar that first jumps to mind,
Right. As a matter of fact, the keyboard, of course, is the only instrument, one of the few, that's locked in. And it seems that your playing style, what you do with your left hand, is very important in bending the pitch and making vibrato.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I still, I don't want to sound conceited or anything, but I truly don't hear anybody doing the thing I'm doing. I mean, I listen to everybody, I listen to a lot of people. And there's just about everybody who plays a MiniMoog nowadays tries to do that thing. And it's quite obvious. Because you hear them play a phrase and come to a point, then kick in the bend, then bring it back, and then move on. And it's not truly integrated organically within the melody, because I don't think the bend is conceived as a part of the melody. It's more as a grace note, as an afterthought. And that's not the way I approach it. But with me, it's always there from the beginning. It's an integral part of the melody that's about to happen. And
so you're thinking linear, just like a horn man.
Yeah, sure. Or any linear, it could be any string instruments, or it's just it comes down to the inspiration. I always, whenever I get into like involved discussion about what music styles and where are we and where are we going and what are we doing, what do we call what we're doing, it really doesn't matter. It's really the strength of inspiration that'll make the thing go across, no matter what style you're in. If you have some fresh inspiration, that's a blessing, and that's not something that can be worked on. You gotta work on your chops, your knowledge, your dexterity, have balanced 10 fingers completely, even. That's all very nice, but it won't mean anything unless you are inspired, and that's half of the game.
Even before you got a MiniMoog, you were sort of into pitch bending even then with fixed pitch instruments like the Rhodes. Weren't you using a ring modulator or something?
Yeah, I was using Oberheim ring modulator. And I was also using all kinds of overload units where I would get a very distorted sound out of a speaker cabinet with the Rhodes, and then do some very fast trills just with fingers between the keys. And the result, by the time the speaker gets totally mushed out, you get almost sliding sounds. That's what I was doing, like even before I had ring modulator. It was always this quest for like getting out of the fixed 12-tone scale. Ever since I was a kid, I'm hearing all the melodies around me, of the folk music. And then, even growing up, starting to listen to some Indian music. And it completely compelled me. It was just so beautiful, something that I really wanted to do, but was unable to. And finally, through, every stage of the electric instruments, when I started using electric piano, I felt closer, and it wasn't until the Minimoog came on scene. I just could not believe why anybody didn't think about it sooner.
Yeah.
It's just such a straightforward approach. And the funniest thing is I don't understand why they moved away from it. Like on a micro.
The ribbon.
Yeah, that's
What's your view of that?
I already told Bob when he first brought micro to my house a while back. Like, I see it as a really good commercial item. It can really, and also as an introductory instrument for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's really laid out. But I still would prefer, even for learning about the synthesizer, I think the logic involved in the board of a Mini is the most straightforward. I find micro confusing compared to Mini. Mini is like a school. It's completely devised school for synthesizer. I learned everything I know from Mini. I never studied the synthesizer. I have never asked a question. Or, how do you do that? It was all just by trial and error, by looking at the Mini board. It was so logical. Then the micro came, and it's not only, the board is not that straightforward, but what I don't understand is where did the pitch wheel go? Because that is the most amazing thing that really sets the Mini apart from any other keyboard synthesizers.
Right.
It's just amazing.
With the multi-track tape recorder, it's now possible for an artist to play all the parts by himself. And you have refrained from doing that more or less. Even on your 7 First Days album, which was largely a solo effort, you brought in other people and had acoustic instruments.
It was, oh, you mean acoustic instrument? But I played...
Other people, huh?
Yeah, there was like on a few tracks only. And they were mostly things that I really couldn't do myself. Like, I couldn't play violin.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to have a violin for some things.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was some conga playing. And I'm not a conga player. So I needed some congas. And that's the extent of outside people. Other than that, out of the 7 tracks, 4 or 5 are done solely by me.
What I'm thinking of, though, is when I hear that album, I'm not struck. This is a synthesizer album, as a lot of others.
Oh, you're talking about purely synthesized album. Because I would never do that, just like I would never do a solo piano album. And people ask me, that I should, and people after me, you should do, would love to hear like a whole... So I would be bored because after the first 15 minutes, I would just be dying to walk over to drums and play some drums, And I just gotta do that. That's my nature. I cannot stick to... I need a little bit more variety. There's only that much expression within a certain instrument. And I find synthesizer one of the most broadest range, of expression instruments. And even then, I need a piano because you cannot synthesize piano. Well, piano is just an instrument of its own.
That brings up another point. What about the people who will not use electronic instruments? What are they really missing? Obviously you use both. What do you...
That's my answer to them. I think they're missing a lot. Because I would hate to miss acoustic instruments. And I think they're missing as much by being totally closed off. And the funniest thing is talking about that it's not natural. Lightning bolt.
Oh, man.
Right? I feel much closer to a lightning bolt than to a tree sometimes. And that's as natural. One is as natural as the other.
Yeah, one is animate, is pure energy, like the human being.
Yeah. I'm just too bad because one person that jumps to my mind is Keith Jarrett, who, strangely enough, no matter how hostile he might be towards electric instruments these days, some of his finest works or finest expressions came out him playing electric piano. And I heard him, and he played beautifully. But he still condemns it. But I think it's just some principle that he feels has to stick to. But it's not, I don't think it's based on anything solid. It's just something that he feels that he has to push. Ask me, I don't know. I have no idea why.
And you said that you taught yourself how to play the synthesizer. Is that a valid way, or should we be doing more to teach people the basics, or what could we do to teach people better?
That's a very hard question, because people have been coming up to me ever since I started playing a lot, in public. Piano, years ago. And people are asking me, would you teach? Would you give lessons? And I always say that I don't know how I'm doing it. It's mostly an instinctive intuition kind of thing. and I cannot pass it on because I think it takes a whole other piece of knowledge to be able to pass it on. And there's a whole other department of, whole other population of people that do that. And I feel that if I did know exactly what I was doing, it would lose all the magic. It wouldn't be as good. It wouldn't be as fresh. And so as far as teaching, I mean, I think that goes for synthesizer as well. I find, for my purposes, letting the instrument teach you, which was in my case, but it takes, you really gotta listen to the instrument. It takes, it's not only settings, it's your ears. But most people, I would imagine, would need some first step guidance, just to get them on their way. I mean, but I'm completely satisfied with a Mini as far as a tool for learning. Even though I'm right now expanded to a lot more outboard equipment that I'm using with the Minis, still, as far as the concept, you can learn just about all the basics of synthesis on the Mini.
Do you feel that it's restrictive in its simplicity?
No, I don't go and see. That's where it really, I guess, varies from person to person. For me, it's not, because I'm really after not very many different sounds. Mm-hmm. I am after a few, and they do vary, obviously, but the ideas are pretty much the same as far as what kind of sound I'm looking for. And it's not the variety of sounds, because, I mean, there's synthesizers that it's their main claim to fame to be able to do the craziest things. Yet I wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole. It's like I'm after the good sound, and it's a very subjective word, but it's good to me. So that's what I mean by good, and Moog gives that to me.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel about imitating instruments on the synthesizer?
I don't think that's a way for a synthesizer to go, really. Synthesizer is so much its own phenomenon that I think it's our duty to try and make it speak in its own language, which is so beautiful. And I think you'll get much further. Rather than trying to emulate a sound, you may come up with a sound that will recall something that you've heard on a guitar or on a horn, flute, French horn. I mean, you just go on. But it's not quite like it, and you're much better off not trying to duplicate it, I find, and going for something that'll have this as much impact or more. Plus, as far as recording, it can be recorded in an amazing way. I mean, you can never record an acoustic instrument like you can a synthesizer as far as presence. It's frightening. And also, I love how synthesizer survives generations. Especially me with working, I always work with a mixture of acoustic and electric instruments, usually, within one mix. And then, let's say I make a mix, then I make a copy of the mix, and then let's say I run a cassette copy of the second generation. And you would not believe how the mix completely changes. Like the drums and the string instruments and vocals, maybe, they all sort of go to the background, and synthesizer shines right through, like as if it hasn't been copied. Mm-hmm. That's one thing that really amazes me about putting synthesizer on tape directly, how it survives. Yeah. Yep.
What synthesizer equipment are you using now?
On stage, I use two Minis, one Freeman string synthesizer, which Bob Moog did put a really nice filter network, fixed filter.
Is that how you got the strings in Oh Yeah and the first 7 days?
On the first 7 days, the strings were partly done by that and by Mellotron. The cellos were done by Mellotron on the first 7 days, but most of the high strings were the Freeman. And on stage, all our string sounds are Freeman. People just cannot believe their ears. But it's not the stock Freeman. It's really, I mean, the Freeman itself plus the resonator that Bob put in, which is phenomenal. It's like, it's wood. It's just like putting it through a wooden box. It's unbelievable. But most of the strings on Oh Yeah were done with a Polymoog, with a prototype.
So you do have a Polymoog, and
not in the studio. I had it for a month. This was like the record was done almost a year ago. So I had a prototype that Jim Whitehall brought down for me to check out. And I had it for about a month, and I used it on a lot of it. But I don't use it on stage yet. I'm still working. I have another thing that I want to talk about a little bit later, which is the reason I like monophonic keyboards. It really taught me to play a whole different way. But I want to go on with the setup. Okay, two Minis. Then I have the Freeman with Moog goodies in it. Fender Rhodes, and I have one Oberheim module expander, which is a little synthesizer without a keyboard. Just
Another little voice. Yeah.
yeah, and it's I run it off the main mini keyboard, and that's about it. Then I use Echoplex.
So it's a fairly simple arrangement compared to some of the elaborate multi-keyboard approaches.
I mean, I have my hands full as it is. I have a six input mixer. I have 2 DBX compressors that I use on one on the piano and one on rest of the stuff. But one is fixed on piano.
Would it be safe to say that what you're really concerned about is the quality of the sound to begin with, and then what you can do with the sound after that, and not so much just the total palette or variety of sounds?
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. That's where I differ. I find I differ from most of the people I talk to, because they all want to say, "Oh, you can do so much more on this." Can I say ARP?
Sure.
You can do so much more on that. I said, that's great. I mean, you can have it. You cannot do what I'm doing on that, and that's the point. I'm not looking for that many sounds. I'm looking for like 2 or 3, but they are gonna kick me right here in the gut. And I think it really comes down to the Moog filter.
Do you think that it's possible to have sounds like that polyphonically, or is this a characteristic of solo playing? Is it characteristically a solo expression?
The effect does tend to fade once you put those sounds into polyphonic. It's not as stunning, but still, I have to be completely honest though. I don't think a polymoog is an instrument that will do justice to that, because it does not really come up. It's a step, so it's sort of a compromise. It's a beautiful instrument, but it still is a sort of a compromise between a synthesizer and a incredibly souped up organ. But it's not a purist's idea of a synthesizer. I mean, I've had it for a while and I worked with it, and there's some amazing things. There's the best string sound yet on a commercial unit I've heard. It's just hands down. It's fantastic, and all kinds of other things. And I think it'll sell a lot too. It's because it's got very broad appeal to. I can see a lot of people really picking up on it, especially with the way they got the presets and all that. Yeah. Oh yeah.
But it's very interesting. Tell it the way you see it.
But as far as a synthesizer, that's what I meant when the Mini, or let's say any other Moog synthesizer, speaking monophonically, just as a synthesis of sound, has got it, and I don't think the Polymoog can reproduce that times whatever voices you're doing. It's not going to be that sound.
Is it possible that it's really a musical problem, not a technical one? That the sound of one bassoon playing is great, the sound of 2 bassoons is good, but the sound of 10 bassoons you never hear. It becomes an orchestration problem. You just can't have strong sounds times 10.
That's true. That's true. But at the same time, it's much easier to synthesize 10, or let's say 20 violins than it is 1.
Oh yes.
That's the other.
But chorus effect things and strong instrumental lines are perhaps different modes of expression.
Yeah. I don't know. I just, as far as polyphonic, it is they even decided not to call it synthesizer. At a certain stage, I remember it was still going to be a polymoog synthesizer, then it became a polymoog keyboard, which is, I think, very valid change. Yeah.
This is very interesting. Now we have a poly that'll play chords, and people have complained for a long time about playing one note from a keyboard. What, do you have any reaction?
Well, I personally prefer, for most of my playing, having just a monophonic keyboard, because I discovered that I could, it makes me play a certain way that I didn't know about before or prior to playing monophonic keyboard. It's just, it has something to do with creating a polyphonic texture with single voice. And it's something that was done a lot by Bach, let's say in a single note instrument, like violin chaconne, something like that, where he hints at different layers of polyphony, yet they are never simultaneous.
Like an Alberti bass, which is really a couple of lines all at the same time.
Yeah, but they go on at the same time, but they're never simultaneous. You don't hear 2 notes simultaneously. Right. You hear things responding, and it's really, you can elaborate on that idea much further with a monophonic synthesizer keyboard, simply because the lower note cancels your upper note. So you can really get a lot tighter. You can get some extremely tight textures where the thing leaps octaves, like 2-3 octaves within, fractions of a second, and the music can really run very fast. Yet you can create a polyphonic texture with a monophonic keyboard. And I find that I wouldn't be able to do that with a polyphonic keyboard.
You'd fall back into the keyboard playing style.
Piano. It would be back to piano again. And I just love having. I just got used to it, and it makes me play in the way that I play now. And people come up to me and say, "Why didn't you get the kit? You can have two voices on Mini." I don't care for it. I don't need it.